SWTOR has been consistently racking in money. They just passed their initial investment of $10 billion or something like that into the game. We talked about that like 3 weeks ago. I actually was surprised it didn't die right there, not gonna lie. Yeah, the mix match skills are really awesome. I do think that that's a good upgrade to the game for sure. I think it's important to, you know, be critical with stuff, but also like suggest solutions as well too. And know that like the developers genuinely care about the game, and they're trying their best, and they're people too, so we need to have grace and kindness, even when we're frustrated about the game that we're all passionate about. So there's a lot of things that I actually really enjoy about the expansion so far. I haven't even played the story yet. I know it's shorter. It's the same length as like the other expansions other than Kotet and Kotvi. But I'm still hopeful for the future. I didn't set any really high expectations for stuff either. I just came back about a month and a half ago, and so I wasn't going to be let down really no matter what. But I hear everybody's concerns and frustrations. I'm just going to keep making content though and enjoying it, and I'll talk about like the things that need to be fixed and worked on, but the little things get overlooked, like the new tagging system is actually huge. That is true. The new tagging system is very nice. I think it's incredibly helpful. I think it's okay to be frustrated for sure and like vocalize what you want to change. With anything in life, it has to be, you know, I think that's very important. But also like, and this goes for anything, like people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Like if you're not kind and like loving with people when you're conveying hard conversations, even the hardest conversations, but even the most simple conversations, it's not like genuine and it lacks soul, just calloused, it's not gonna like do anything. You're not gonna see any progress. I view it as enjoyment per hour per dollar. Subbing is $15. Is the expansion worth $15? If 15 to see a movie, it's 2 hours. So SWTOR content worth the same as a movie? That's a good point. That's a really good point, to be honest, Captain Stinky. Yeah. Yeah, no, I think that's a really good way to look at it. That's what a lot of people have said about like $60 games and like RPG games and story games. Definitely want to capitalize on the awesome storytelling of this game. We want more of it, like a lot more of it. The thing is like Disney is also, I think, starting to recognize that if they create quality, like real genuine Star Wars content, then they're gonna get our money. You know what I mean? I'm gonna give you as much money as I can. Like just keep releasing stuff. I'll go see it. I'll subscribe to Disney Plus for 15 more years. And then same thing I think that needs to be recognized with like EA. I think that the developers we have for the game and the staff are incredibly genuine, and they really, really care about the game. Otherwise, they wouldn't have worked with the game for so long. And I think the EA needs to recognize that they're going to get so much money out of SWTOR, especially with like how good of a state Star Wars is in. It's in a better spot, like as a fandom, we all are, than we were like around the sequels time. For sure. And then they have all these other games coming out, and then what's the game that you're going to be able to sink the most time into and get the most immersion with all sorts of other people and build friendships and relationships with that, you know, that you can play together? And that's SWTOR as a Star Wars fan. And a lot of people don't recognize how much has been added to the game over the years, but all you have to do is come back and play through the stories and see what all's changed since launch, because it didn't have a super smooth launch, but it has so much like depth and richness to it that other Star Wars games do have, but they don't have the sheer amount of hours that you can put into those stories. And so people, it's like you don't have to defend a line, you just open the cage, you just open the door for it, is kind of a saying. It's a more like philosophical saying, but it applies in the same way to SWTOR. Is like there's quality there, you just have to open the door, people just have to see it. And the thing is we want more quality that's been there in past expansions. And the thing is there has to be healthy decisions made from the top down. Your developers are not the people that are like funding and investing and stuff. You have people at the top that are the ones that control like where the money goes. And so It's the same with movies and shows. If the story and the heart and the soul of the game is lacking, then it's going to be dead. If it's just a shell with microtransactions and lackluster amount of resources to pump into the things that the fan base wants, you're going to end up getting a lot of money in the short term for your low investment, but in the long term, you have to spend money to make money, and so they have to invest a lot in the long-term game with it. And the thing is I don't necessarily know what's holding that back per se, because Anthem flopped, obviously. And so it's like, okay, well then where's the rest of the resources going? Battlefront 2 is in a bad spot. So they have a lot of hackers and cheaters, but they also said they're not going to back that game and support it and push it anymore. So it's like, what is the other title, other than Apex Legends, that is racking in money for EA? Well, SWTOR has been consistently racking in money. They just passed their initial investment of $10 billion or something like that into the game. We talked about that like 3 weeks ago. And so just invest money, spend money to make money, and you'll make money. And WoW's not in a good spot right now. And people are looking, as Star Wars fans, for a game to go play. There's a ton of new players. The concurrent player base is a lot higher than it was in past years. And heck, like the Twitch category and the content on YouTube is in a better spot than it's been at in years, with the sheer amount of people getting into it that care about it. So they have a decision to make. And so the devs are trying, and we have quality devs, but that's what it looks like to me. I don't have all the details, and I don't know a lot of like behind the scenes and stuff, but from the outside looking in and just speculating, that's all I can kind of guess. So I'll just try to be as positive as I can be, and be hopefully optimistic, but also realistically critical and constructively too. So Disney should buy BioWare and make the right choices. Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, we see that we do see that there was that decision that was made that EA isn't the exclusive rights holders to Star Wars video games. And now we've seen like 15 Star Wars video games get announced, and EA is still making them, they're still funding them for sure. I don't know, man. And when you look at like companies and stuff, you never really know like what's going on behind the scenes. Are there a lot of people at the top that are being paid way too much to try and juggle too many jobs, and they're super stressed out, and that's slowing down the system? Do they need to like take a pay cut and hire out more people so that way in the long run they can end up making more money from being able to work more efficiently? You never know like what's kind of causing stuff like that, and breakdowns in bureaucracy in a more positive way. I know that term usually has like more negative connotations, so there's a lot, I'm sure, that goes on behind the scenes, and you see that with other gaming companies and things that are being made public, especially as of like recently. As to the thing is it's like when you have so much access to excess, there's a lot of like issues that creep in and distract you from the main thing, and you got to keep the main thing. And so like as a gaming company, I can only imagine the amount of temptation with like that many resources running a company. And the thing is like, yeah, it's fun to work in gaming, but it's also like very stressful until you hit a breaking point where you're not just like still scraping by to like make the vision work and make things happen. And I feel like I'm kind of starting to come over that and seeing a little bit more like stability, but man, the mental health side of the gaming industry is really detrimental. Not just because people come here as an escape, but even in like working on the inside of it too. So I try to have grace for it. Even the guys like at EA, you don't know, but you can speculate, and it does seem like there's just been some really bad leadership decisions that have been made, and I don't know that I would have made better decisions if I was those people myself, but I can do what I can do, and I can just try to create the best content and encouraging environment as I possibly can, because that's what's in my control. EA is 100% the problem. They have burned SWTOR in favor of their garbage titles that last a weekend. BioWare team, which works on a game, is very small. All we need right now is more people to work on the game. I agree. I 100% agree. They have 17 job openings like for SWTOR. I saw that there was one that was posted. I think SWTOR is succumbing to the silent majority, where a lot of the people who actually like the content aren't vocal about it. I think there's a lot of people that don't feel like they can be vocal about what they do enjoy on it, just because they don't want to get attacked for it, to be honest. As unfortunate and terrible as that sounds, I think it's important to have things imbalance, and it's important to have your emotions and your feelings about stuff, but you also want to regulate those as best as you can with logic. And I think that's why I like Grey Jedis so much. But, you know, it didn't meet our expectations. There's a lot of valid complaints. There's a lot of bugs. But let's come together, suggest solutions so that upper management can see what's going on and take care of our treasured devs. And unfortunately, like, sometimes people don't pay attention until like the conversation gets loud enough for things, and that's in a lot of ways. But I think you can have those conversations and get enough attention from those conversations in a respectful way. Just the sheer amount would be very, very helpful. You know, you want to share your positive thoughts, but also it's okay to want better. We should always strive for better and want better. But imagine if you can channel those frustrating emotions and that passion into something beautiful. You know, like for me, like whenever I was angry and I was playing soccer, I would always channel that anger into like work ethic, and I would work harder to overcome not being better than a player or to make a play. And that's what ended up carrying me further, was being able to take my frustrations and then turn them into something that was impactful and brought about progress and growth, rather than the opposite of that, which is destruction and making other things fail. One gives life, the other takes away or just stays where things are at and doesn't add anything. Yeah, like there's definitely things for sure that are a letdown, but there's also positives too. So I'll just do what I can control. I knew people were going to be upset about the expansion just by answering questions on Facebook. A lot of people believe the combat style is getting combined. Yeah, there was a lot of confusion there too, and confusion never amounts. The thing is this is what my father-in-law told me like very early on, like before I even got married to my wife, and it's something that I'll never forget. And I'm glad that he took the time to sit down and just like talk to me and give me advice as a young man. And he was like, one thing that I never do is I never set expectations. It's like I never set expectations on things because I don't want to conform. Take things for like what they are and where they're at in the now, instead of setting your expectations so high that if it doesn't meet your standard for perfection or whatever, because your standard can be wrong. That's been a logic that I've tried to apply in a lot of other areas too. So like the expansion, for example, at a way less, more personal level. It's like, I'm gonna not set my expectations so high that I know I'm gonna be freaking let down. And I learned that after watching the sequels for sure. I'm not gonna put all of my emotions and like my purpose and everything that I am into how this one thing in my life ends up going. And that's one thing that I try to teach my players at the university, and people IRL and friends, because that's been something that's been really hard for me to learn. I think the toughest thing is when there's something out of your control and you want it to go a certain way and it doesn't, and it means so much to you because you've attached yourself to it so much that it just destroys your mental and you're not even able to function. And so like in competition, if you end up messing up or having a bad pass and you lose the game and you care so much about your mistakes and all you ever do is focus on the problems, then you're never going to be able to see the solutions. And so you have to look out past the problems. It's a quote from an awesome movie that I really liked that Robin Williams was in, Patch Adams. And his whole thing is like, if you only ever focus on the problem, like the math problem, you'll never actually be able to move anywhere. You'll just be stuck meditating and focusing and hyper focusing on the problem. So